Grant, how you doing?
Man, Mark, I'm doing great. Always good when I'm hanging out with you, man.
Likewise, Grant. And today we're going to talk to Grant about his new booklet, the Millionaire booklet, which I have read. It took me about 30 minutes. And, I want to give you my takeaway on this, Grant, before we really jump into some of the questions that I have. So what I loved was you were able to distill down what typically takes most authors 300 pages. You were able to distill down the basics, and even to my understanding, you were able to distill down chapters into like 3 or 4 pages, and it still made sense, and it still gave me kind of my own playbook as to get even wealthier. And that to me was, I think you did a fantastic job.
Well,
and if you read The Millionaire Next Door, it seems most people that get rich live frugally and save over time, and your approach seems to expedite that a little. And I want to give you a little bit of time here to kind of cover the book and your response to that.
Yeah, so The Millionaire Next Door, it was a book. I learned something from every book. And when I read The Millionaire Next Door, I learned I don't want to be the millionaire next door. I'm not, I don't, look, if you study the wealthiest people on this planet, they didn't get there because they bought a used F-150. You don't measure net worth based on what you saved on the way. So The Millionaire Next Door basically says if you don't buy a cup of coffee every day for the next 60 years, you'll have 70 grand or something put away in a savings account.
Right.
That's not, I know that guy. I know the guy that died with a bunch of money buried in the ground underneath his house because he saved every penny. He lived his entire life as a miser. That's not my idea of being a millionaire, okay? My idea of being a millionaire is I got money to take care of my kids, to take care of my wife, to take care of the people around me, to live and enjoy a great life and keep producing new money so that I can enjoy a great life. I mean, that is... So I wrote this book to say, look, I don't want to be an old man when I get rich. I want millionaire is the new middle class. It is not some state of being super rich. It's simple to get there. It's not very complex. Anybody can do it. And I basically simplified it to 8 steps, really 7 steps. The 8th one says just repeat.
Well, we're going to get there in just a minute, but I want to do something a little bit different that I haven't seen anyone do with you, Grant, and that is I want to dive into the Cardone life. Like, what were you like as a kid? What events, kind of shaped you, and who helped shape the modern day Cardone?
Yeah, well, I was born identical twin. I'm the 4th and 5th child in a family of 5, and my dad died when I was 10. My dad was a fairly successful guy, middle class, stockbroker in the late 50s. And it was his 4th career. He bought his dream house and died a year later. Left my mom with some insurance. I'm giving you the abbreviated, abridged version of my life. And left my mom with a little bit of insurance, death insurance, death benefits. Listen to that, death benefits. Yeah. And my dad was basically insurance broke. He knew he had some problems going on, physical problems, and left my mom with some insurance money, and my mom had to basically manage that money. She had to manage the money, very similar to what they talk about in The Millionaire Next Door. Don't spend, don't waste, save for a rainy day, save for the future, eat all your food. Everything is about scarcity and contraction as opposed to affluence and expansion. And so when I was 16 years old, I remember telling my mom, my dad's been dead 6 years at this point. I'm watching my mom terrified every night. She has money, man. We're the middle class. She has money, and she's terrified every single day because she doesn't know when it's going to run out. And I told my mom when I was 16 years old, because she kept telling me to be grateful that I had so much. We had more than most. I had a roof over my head, clothes on my back, food in my stomach. And I told her one day, I said, dude, I don't want anything to do with this middle class thing. This is a terrible. I'm going to get rich one day. I told at 16, I said, I'm going to get rich. I'm going to get super rich one day so I never have to worry about money and so that I could take care of my mom. and other people. And, you know, so I for the next 9 years, I basically went backwards financially because I didn't know what I was doing. And then at the age of 25, I kind of started getting my game together. And for the last 30 years now, I've been studying successful people and figuring out kind of my own way to codify how could I create the life I wanted.
But at 25, you know, to now, I mean, that's a long period, right? I'm not trying to age you at all, but yeah. What happened at 25 where you suddenly, discovered how to become a millionaire? I don't think it happens that way. Can you educate us on that?
No, I was broke at 25. I got finished high school. I went to college, did the college thing for 5 years, which is definitely not part of the route, by the way. It's not one of the 7 steps. It's absolutely not necessary to go to college. And 25, I'm broke, man, dude. I'm broke. I don't have any money. I'm broke financially. I'm broke spiritually. I've made a bunch of bad decisions in my life. I got out of college. I got an accounting degree. Can't get a job. Don't believe in myself. My family thinks I'm a loser. I had a drug problem from 16 to 25. Made a lot of bad choices. Didn't have any mentoring. You know, much like an inner city kid. But I was middle class that goes bad. I'm a middle class kid, like an inner city kid that doesn't have a dad, takes all the wrong direction. And dude, for 9 years, Mark, I just kept saying every day, every morning I'd wake up 9 years. Today I'm going to change my life. Today I'm going to change my life. Today I'm going to change. And then one day it just clicked. That was the one day after 9 years that all of a sudden I changed my life. And I was in sales. I had a job that I hated, but I knew could get me out. If I would just learn how to love the job, it would help me get out of where I was. And so one day, I don't know what happened, man. I just switched from hating my position in life to saying, I'm going to get great where I'm at and crawl my way out of this. And I mean, I wasn't a millionaire for another 7 or 8 years. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a path or a codification. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just grinding and working and
you were spending. You know, a lot of people can make money, but they seem to spend it. So what was your philosophy during that period?
Well, what I did in the beginning was I was making $3,000 a month as a salesperson, and every month wondering if I could make $3,000 again. And I made a commitment to become great at sales. And literally, I invested $3,000 in a program when I was 25 years old to become a great salesman. I didn't know if it was a scheme or BS, or I just said, hey, look, I don't know what I'm doing. It was cheaper than college. So I spent the $3,000. $3,000 today, that would be like $8,000. I borrowed the money from my mom and I made a commitment. I made a commitment to learn how to sell, which really selling is about income, which is the first tip. Like you have to get income to get rich. And 30 days later, man, I was falling in love with sales. My income went from $3,000 to $7,000. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this $4,000? Now, this is where my mom's training came in. I saved it all. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I just started putting money away. Any increments I got in income, I saved all of it. And I continued, and I did this for 5 years. I continued to live like I was making $3,000. My standard of living didn't change. The belt I wore, the shirts, the clothes, the shoes, the car I drove, nothing changed. I just stacked money for the next 5 years.
You weren't impacted by your peers and see, I was, in my 20s, I made a lot of money, but I spent it too. Because I wanted to keep up with the Joneses, or I wanted to spend it with my friends who had a lot of money. I mean, they had Ferraris and stuff. Yeah. Were you not hanging around those people?
No, I didn't know anything about Ferraris, man. I grew up in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I wanted to get rich. I didn't want to show off. And I am a bit of a show off, but to me, that's not how I wanted to show off. I wanted to get rich. I've wanted to get rich since I was 8 years old. I had a quarter. I tell this story. I had this quarter. I was going to the store. My parents let me go to the store. Me and my brother walk into the store, and we both had a quarter. And my quarter fell into a manhole. And I got home, and I told my dad, I lost my quarter. And my dad says, you got to quit playing with money. And my grandfather, who was a gambler, okay, Didn't have papers to live in the United States. His entire life, he was living on the dark side his whole life. My grandfather said, your dad's wrong. The problem is not that you were playing with your quarter. The problem is you only had one quarter. And I remembered that lesson my grandfather told me. I'm like, dude, I got to get a bunch of quarters. If you want to be able to solve problems in life, okay, and not be disappointed and discouraged, you need lots of quarters. So I was just stashing money, Mark. I didn't even know what I was going to do with it. By the way, for 8 years, I would stash money away, and I wouldn't make any investments. For my first investment was $50,000. My second investment was $350,000. And these were when I was 34 and 35 years old. Now I had some experience. I had some discipline. I had some belief in myself. I had not got corrupted by the Ferrari pretender baller,
Well, but, a lot of your fans are going to say, well, Grant, you've then completely transformed yourself because now it seems you're out there a lot, right? You've got shows, you're everywhere. I mean, let's face it. And so at the time, you seem to have been this, miser, if you will, that was holding back, not wanting to become famous, not showing off. I'm not saying you're a show off now. I think
no. I've always wanted to be famous, though. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
And I've always been a bit of a show off, but I've never used money to do it. I didn't buy my first nice watch until I was maybe 34 years old. But at that time I was making, look, I sold automobiles from the age of 25 to 29, and I hated every second of it. But I learned how to be great at it. I didn't know another way to make $100,000. $100,000 back then was like $200,000 today. I could have done that without a degree in college. You don't need a degree to sell automobiles. I was in a little tiny town, so I said, hey, man, there's a lot of possibility here. So then I started my own company at 29 where I went and started showing car dealers a better way to sell cars. Think about that, right? I'm cold calling on millionaires, car dealers, man. Hardest audience in the world to call on.
Absolutely.
And I'm pitching these guys. I'm traveling from city to city. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life was cold called multimillionaires that are already making money, and I'm telling them another better way to do things. So that was my first company. And in the first 3 years, I went from making $100,000 selling cars to $30,000 a year with my new business. I went backwards. And it would take me 2.5, almost 3 years to really start making any real money, but I stuck with it. So these are lessons that I'm having, right? Like, dude, you got to have a lot of money, man. That's when the whole save for a rainy day. Like, you need surpluses to get through things because bad things happen to good people. And I didn't know anything about really economics or cycles or studies or all the stuff that Forbes does and CNBC. And it's never been very complicated for me. Get money, put it away, use money to create more money. And at this point, I wasn't trying to save the world either. I'm not trying to become famous, dude. I'm trying to make money, period. And so then my business took off. I'm 32 years old. I started making some real money. I'm working 250 days a year. I'm being paid to speak all over the country. My thing became popular. I started my second business that was congruent with this first business. Basically, my first business fed the second business, so it was almost like a glove going on a hand. It just fit. A partner came in. He borrowed $50,000 from me. I said, you got 90 days to pay me back, and you'll never get another penny from me. He paid me back in 60 days. I've had that company for 20 years. Makes about it's made $10 million a year for 20 years. $50,000 loan. So that was my second company. And my third company was started when I was 35. So I'm just telling you that to tell you the sequence of things, right? While I'm doing this, dude, all I'm doing is hoarding money. I'm literally hoarding money. And I talk about this in the Millionaire booklet. I don't know what I'm doing right, but I'm hoarding money in order to invest money to create more flows of income.
So, creating a $10 million business is not easy. What was kind of your mentality to getting it to a $10 million business? I know it was persistence. I know that but do you think it was smart decisions? Was it mentoring? what was it that you did in order to create a $10 million company?
No, I don't think it was any of that, man. I hear people say, man, I got a bunch of smart people around me. I'm like, well, dude, I don't have the smartest people around me, okay? But I got people the people that I've done well with have been loyal, trustworthy, okay? When I have problems with people, it's when they don't follow the general. It's never because I haven't been the smartest person, nor have the people around me been the smartest person. But when we've been successful is when everybody gets behind Grant. So the first company, I just knew it was going to work. I knew I was right. Okay. The second company, I knew we had something that people needed. And so we just stayed with it. I don't go into spaces that are very complicated. Okay. The spaces I am are very simple. They should cash flow immediately. I'm not building apps. I'm not creating Facebook or the next Facebook or I'm not doing that. The first 20 years I was in business, I never spent one penny in advertising. Nothing, not one penny. Everything was this. This has been my advertising. Knock on a door, make a phone call. Okay, now I'm in a position because enough people know me that I think advertising actually works for me now. So the answer to that question is my businesses are very simple. My third company was a real estate company. I buy apartments. People have to have a place to live. It's not complicated. I buy something, you rent it from me. I take care of you, you pay me on time, or we kick you out. And then the debt's paid over time. And one day I'm going to get rich. One day I'm going to be way wealthier than the millionaire next door. So, yeah.
Well, let's jump to the book. The Millionaire booklet. And the first question I have, Grant, is why a booklet and not an entire book?
That's a great question. That's a great question, okay? I've never told anybody this except you. I have a deal right now for a book called Obsess with Penguin Random, okay? They gave me a huge advance to write a book called Obsessed. It's coming out in October. Under the contractual agreement that I have with Penguin, I would not write another book between when we sign the contract and that book gets released. So I wrote a booklet.
And they were okay with that, huh?
I don't know.
All right. Well, how these publishers are.
Yet to be determined.
Okay with it.
Now, the difference between random, okay, I hope they see this because I know they're just going to piss them off so bad. The difference between random, look, that book, Obsessed, is going to take a year and a half. Rewrites, editors, photo shoots. This book took 2 hours. From the start, I was at a charity event. I talk about this in the book. I was at a charity event. We were trying to raise $2 million at this charity event. We're there like 3 hours. We end up raising the $2 million. One guy does $1 million, the last $1 million. One guy says, I'll do the whole thing. I'll do the whole million, the remaining $1 million. Everybody in the room was like, damn, I want to be that guy. Right? I went home that night. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to write a book, How to Become a Millionaire, because truth is, people want to do more. People want to help out with charities. People want to help people out. People want to make a difference, And the problem is most people don't have enough money to make a difference. Most people don't have enough money, Mark, to even solve their own problems, much less their neighbor's problems. So I went home that night. I wrote this book in 2 hours. 30 days later, the book was finished and translated into 37 languages.
Wow.
There's only 47 books on the entire planet that have ever been translated that many times, and we did it in 30 days.
Wow. That's very, very impressive.
Yeah.
This is going to sound cynical, Grant, so, but don't take it that way. But you've already made it, so why do you want to help other people?
Because, you broke up a little bit on that last thing. I don't know if you broke up on your side, but, why do I want to help people? It's my purpose. Now, if it's skeptical, if some people don't trust that, that's probably more about them or you than it is about me, because my intention is pure. When I was 10 years old, I wanted an uncle. I wanted my dad back. Dude, for 3 years, I went to sleep every night saying, man, please let this freaking dream end. My daddy's got to be alive. But by the time I'm 13, I'm out mowing the lawn one day and I'm like, dude, he ain't coming back, bro. Okay? You know, death is a very interesting phenomenon. It is the most non-negotiable event of your lifetime. I think other people's death is probably more non-negotiable than your own is, because you have this loss, right? Because I want to be with this guy. Well, in the meantime, I'm waiting for my uncles to kind of fill the space up. My older brother, I'm like, man, he's 15, I'm 10. He's going on to play basketball in high school and date and all that. My uncles are nowhere to be found. They got their own families. And I was dying, man, for somebody to help me. And you know, I think somewhere in there, my mission got grooved in, you know, like the oyster that becomes the pearl, you know, the oyster sitting in that those shells and that sand's in there, it just grinds out for millions of years and it becomes something. I think that pain, man, was like just grinding out this mission. Help people. You know, I'm there for a lot of people today, man. I help people, so many people every day. It's so fulfilling to me. Nothing feels better to me. No amount of money feels better to me than knowing some guy in some part of the world I've never even been to. I can't pronounce his name. I don't know him. He doesn't know, but he Snapchats me and says, man, Uncle G, dude, you're like my godfather, man. You're the guy I can go to in the morning. You're the guy I can get inspiration from. Or the woman that just got a divorce and's got 3 kids and starting a real estate career. This is an unbelievable sense of wealth that I experienced from helping people. So if some people don't trust it, you know, I get it, man. I get it. People have been disappointed, let down, tricked, betrayed.
No, I've seen it, you know, firsthand. So I'm not one of the cynical. Yeah. But you know, I need to raise that issue because I think it's something that's, you know, a lot of people might not know about you. Yeah, yeah, right? Yeah. I mean,
no, that's legit.
I didn't know about you. Yeah. Your father dying young, and my father died young, and it still impacts him today, and he's 67, 68.
Dude, I look at my daughter, like my Sabrina came in today. She's 7 years old, and she kisses me, and you know, dude, it's real to me. When my kids do that, I'm like, dude, you know, what could happen today? You know, when is the last time I get to see my kids? When is the last? That's real to me. My dad died when I was 10. My older brother died when I was 20. He was 25 years old. I talked to him on a Sunday night. Next morning, he's dead. Like these are real events that people take for granted, man. You know, like I don't know that I believe in the whole one life thing. Like you only get one life to live. I do know this though. You need to live life, man. And most people are not living life because they're restricted because they don't have any money. You know, when your choice of vacation is based on whether breakfast is free or not, man, that ain't a vacation.
Yeah.
And that's the way most people live today, even in America.
Yeah. Sorry. So let's dive more into that. Let's get into the booklet itself. And you've got 8 steps that you walk people through. Do you want to cover that at a high level and go as deep as you want? But you know, what are the 8 steps? And I know the 8th is just rinse and repeat, but could you kind of share with us how you came up with these steps and maybe outline what they are?
Well, number one, I mean, before we get into the mechanics of it, it is like people need to understand that getting rich is not a fantasy. It's not, you know, people ask me all the time, what, can everybody get rich? Yep. Everyone can get rich. Okay, everyone on planet Earth could go out and get rich tomorrow if they wanted to. I don't know if it'll happen by tomorrow, but they could go out and create wealth for themselves. Every human being on planet, there's enough money on this planet, objectively, realistically, practically, fundamentally, mathematically, there's enough money on this planet for every human being to have more than they could ever possibly spend. So the first thing is, why don't people have money? Why is there such a scarcity? Why do so many people struggle? In the richest country on the planet, why do 78% of all households in America live paycheck to paycheck? Because they're not going for the fantasy. They're not going for the payday. They're not going for, everybody's settling for the middle class just enough. So the first trick, if you want to get rich, is, you know, the guys that are hitting it out of the park, man, are going big. They're going for something abnormal. The guys that make a difference on this planet are going for the big play. They're not going for little plays and getting lucky. You're not going to hit the bullseye if you don't aim for it. So most people in America are settling for the middle class. You were convinced by mom and dad, hey, get a good job, settle down, get married, be happy, save your money, put your money in a 401k. That's your mommy and daddy's economy, and it doesn't work today. The 401k was a scam. College was a scam. Sorry, I'm just telling you the way it is. Buying a house is a scam. These are built on the backs of middle-class people. There are entire industries that are dependent upon hundreds of millions of people believing it so that Wall Street can exist. The college debt thing, $1.3 trillion in college debt in America. It's a crime.
Yeah.
Okay? It's been perpetuated by Wall Street. Wall Street needs to lend all that money out. There's more college debt in this country than there is credit card debt. How does somebody make sense of borrowing $140,000 to get a job that pays $40,000? Nobody would make sense of that investment. So the first thing is, look, I got to get somebody to understand that you could actually get rich. The next thing is, who do you get your advice from? Part of the problem in our country is that we particularly with social media today, Mark, somebody's going to watch this interview and then they're going to go read The Millionaire Next Door. And then they're going to go listen to somebody else talk about just hustle, man, hustle, hustle. And then they're going to go to church Sunday morning and that guy's going to say, man, you need to pray, man. Everything's going to be all right before the guy passes the basket. So that guy got 5 pieces of advice. And then he turned on Susie Orman, who says you need to save your money. Then Dave Ramsey that says, hey, don't borrow money. All debt is bad debt. The guy got 7 pieces of advice that all basically contradict. He doesn't know who to believe anymore. Okay? And then he Googles my name and he hears Mark Fidelman say something, Mark is a skeptic on Grant Cardone. Whatever. I know you're not, dude, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you guys got to pick somebody you trust. You don't need 7 coaches. You need 1. You're not going to the Super Bowl with 7 coaches. You're going with 1 coach. People need to pick somebody and get behind that playbook completely 100%. And the problem with social media today is I can listen to so many different people is I end up with too many people in the kitchen. And nobody knows who put what season into what. And the next thing you know, we don't know if we have gumbo or soup or freaking throw it in the trash. So where am I at on the book, man?
Third step.
Well, chapter 3 is making the millionaire decision. What is the millionaire decision? You got to make a decision. Nobody gets anywhere without making a decision. You get married, you got to make a decision to be monogamous or make a decision or don't make a decision. If you don't make a decision not to be faithful to your wife, you're going to cheat on her. Millionaire math, okay? This is a chapter that people have already written me and said, dude, that one chapter changed my life right there. How many different ways can you become a millionaire? By the way, everybody listening to this will be a millionaire in your lifetime. It's just, can you take time out of the equation? How many different ways can an individual become a millionaire? There's so many ways to do this. It's unbelievable. So I basically show people how to do that. Then when you start, once you get your head wrapped around the concept, how do you start doing the things that you need to do? First thing you got to do to become a millionaire, to create wealth, is increase income. Whether you're a startup company or an individual, okay, you have to increase income. Income is part of the valuation to create wealth in your life. And so I start laying out, this book's only 44 pages long, 42 pages? Yeah, 42 pages.
Yeah, roughly.
You read it. How fast do you read it?
Half hour.
Yeah. Now, my question is, if it was a big book, 250-page book, would you have read it?
Well, I think I shared this with you earlier. Probably not, due to my time constraints. But I've got a lot of respect for you, Grant. And if you say this is the way to do it, I would have read the book, but it probably would have been a speed read.
Yeah.
So I'm actually happy you just condensed it down, right, into actionable steps that I've come across but never presented this way, and I think everyone should read it. Yeah.
And so once I increase my money, once I make a commitment to increase my money, I ask myself, who's got my money? Somebody's got your money. Mark. Somebody's got Mark's money. Somebody's got Grant's money. Who's got my money? I've had athletes write me, professional athletes, and say, dude, that chapter changed my life. Like I thought about who's got the ball. I should have been thinking about who's got my money, right? Stay broke. Stay broke is a game changer concept. This is what I did. I didn't know I was doing it right, but I've stayed broke. Like twice a year, I go broke. I'm about to go broke here in the next 3 weeks. I'm going to go broke. I'm going to take all the money that I have in surplus and I'm going to dump it into some deals. I talk about diversification in this book, okay? You don't want to diversify. You need to go all in on your deals. The reason people diversify is because they don't know. When you don't know, you diversify. When you do know, you go all in. The wealthy people go all in. They don't diversify. Diversification was created by Wall Street again. Another little scheme of Wall Street. You need to be in 100 investments. If I'm in 100, I can't understand them all, so I need a guy to direct those funds, and then I become dependent upon that guy. Save to invest, don't save to save. Save to invest, don't save to save, which means you don't want that money in an IRA, and you don't want it in a KEO. You don't want it in a 401. You want it. I don't want that. I want the cash so I can buy a deal. By the way, those opportunities are coming up here in the next 3 to 5 years. And then how to create multiple flows of income. You know, most people are dependent upon one flow of income. You like YouTube. You know, that's one flow. I like them all.
So when you're, and now let's get beyond the book. When you are looking at investments right now, you're saving to invest. Are there specific areas that you're looking at? Are you still looking at old investments that have been successful for you? Or are you looking at new and innovative investments that you think will pay off in the future?
I think, you know, I've never said this again. I'm going to give you a little, I hope my partner doesn't hear this today, but I think one of my businesses is going to die because of where the partner is in the deal. I've had a partnership die in another business before, not die, physically die. I'm not talking about physically die. I'm just saying, hey, it matures and it's over. Cycles in, right? So people lose interest. People want to retire. They want to move on. They don't, you know, I had a real estate partner early in my career. He made more money than he ever dreamed he could possibly make in his lifetime. And when I met him, he had $56 in his pocket. Today he's got $12 million. He's done. He's like, I'm done, man. Dude, I ain't done. I'm not done. You know, if I had only $12 million, I'd feel like I'm broke. I'd want to jump off my balcony. So you know, I want to grow. So you have to know things are going to die. I think one of my businesses is going to die. My first business, which was my speaking business, almost killed me. So that had to evolve. It evolved by going social and by using media. I don't want to travel all over the world speaking for an hour, no matter how much money you pay me. I would rather reach 200,000 people on a Facebook stream for free and get no money than talk to 200 people and be paid 50 grand. I mean, I would just rather do that. It's the quality of my life today. So to further answer your question is I like very simple investments, okay, that cannot be destroyed with deflation or inflation. And I think that we're getting ready to go into a major deflation in America, which would cause me to really second guess a number of investments out there.
Okay. Anything more specific than that, or
well, like I would avoid almost everything retail. You know, anything to do with shopping centers. You know, I can see a day in the future where these shopping centers, these big shopping centers. What city do you live in?
I live in Carlsbad, north of San Diego.
Yeah, so you know that big mall that you guys got down in San Diego. I mean, it's not going to go away, but I can see one day that Fashion Valley deal.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's San Diego, it's going to become something else. But I can see some of those less than primary malls becoming dark spaces one day. Imagine when people don't go to theaters anymore, Mark, because they're like, you know what? I don't need to leave my house, dude. I got my little freaking headset on, and we going Braveheart 3D, and my wife is sitting next to me, and she's watching a movie she wants, and we don't even have to leave our house. You know, so
I mean, they've already upped the game here with theaters. I mean, most of the theaters we have now recline fully. They got people come to your seats. So they're trying to evolve.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to be able to evolve fast enough for what the technology you just brought up.
There's no way, dude. There's no way, man. There's no way. I mean, look, I want to play Xbox. I don't go to a theater to do it.
Right.
I want to play it from the comfort of my home and the safety, by the way, of my home. So we got a lot of things going on socially right now that are going to accelerate people staying home. I remember after 9/11, I've never heard any expert talk about this, but after 9/11, if you look at the charts of housing exploded in America after 9/11. Now, the professionals say the reason that happens is because interest rates came down. I don't think that that's true. Interest rates today are lower than they were after 9/11, and housing's not exploding. I think what happened in 9/11 was socially and emotionally, people were like, dude, the world's coming to an end. Stay at home. So if the world's coming to an end, I want my own little castle to protect myself and my family. And I think people went and started making decisions to invest in an address as a seeking safety, harbors of safety. So I can see a day when people start second guessing, man, do I really want to go to the theater, man? Do I want to go to the shopping center? Do I want to drive out there? We're already seeing people do things like partner cars, car sharing. It's going to happen, man. This is happening right here and right now. That would change the decisions I make where I buy apartments. Maybe I want to buy apartments in more urban spaces where people share cars or don't have cars at all. Technology is going to disrupt. So it's going to disrupt everything. So I'm trying to avoid anything and everything with my money that can be disrupted because of some advancement in technology. So food, water, probably not going to change. Housing, apartment housing, no app's going to replace the fact that you need a place to live that's affordable.
Grant, we have to wrap it up. I mean, I could go on with you for a couple of hours. Will you tell us where to get your book, what the URL is?
Dude, let me tell you how we came up with the name of the book. MillionaireBooklet.com was available. MillionaireBooklet.com was available. I'm like, that's the title of the book, The Millionaire Booklet.
Wonderful. So now it'll be in the show notes. Grant, thank you so much. We've got to keep doing this.
Dude, look, let's do something. Let's do something on a regular basis, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I like you, Mark. I like you. Also, the book's at Amazon, and it's also on MP3 already, and it's in 37 languages. I mean, it's in Hindi, it's in Spanish, it's in Portuguese, German, dude, what is it, Swedish? Dude, the Australians want to translate the book.
The Australians want to translate it, huh?
Mark, you're awesome, man.
All right. Thanks, Grant.
Okay, buddy.